Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Dave Noodles, and we are on the Type 88 show, where we talk to people about how they turn their dreams into reality. And this man right here has given so many people a stage to share their passion, to meet new fans, to connect with other artists. This guy finds time to do it all. He's an entrepreneur, a husband, a father, and a businessman side by side with his brother doing amazing things in the hip hop and independent music scene. So I just want to welcome Marco Ramos to the Type 88 show. What's up, man?
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate that. That was a nice little intro, man. I don't do these things often, so I don't really, hear people talk about me like that, but that's pretty cool. Thank you.
Of course, man. I pride myself on curating the curators, and when I think of someone who curates the culture, the underground scene, the music scene, your hand and finger has been on the pulse for how many decades? Probably 2 decades now
Right,
almost.
2 decades. Yeah, a little over 2 decades. Yeah. Two,
So
very long.
shout out to you and your brother.
Thanks.
Before I even get into this, I just want to, give you your flowers to you and your brother. Um, if anyone doesn't know, Marco and his brother opened the door to me when I was doing Stereotype really early. This was like almost a decade ago when I had like 800 followers.
Yeah.
No one knew me. I was literally making hat by hat, one at a time. Even though we still do it that way, but
Hmm.
these gentlemen, they didn't even know me, and they opened their doors to me dozens of times to set up my merch. Just a dude with a dream who literally wasn't doing any other job, and literally, I just wanted to shout out both you guys because you both were essential for giving me hope at a time where I literally dropped everything to do what I was doing. So I really
Hmm.
want to thank you both
Um,
for that time.
my pleasure. I'll speak on Miguel's behalf. Our pleasure. And honestly, you, a lot of times when I hear people give flowers, it's like your commitment to yourself got you there. All I did was like literally just open up when you knocked. So like, so I think that, kudos to you too. But it's been definitely a pleasure.
Yeah, man, the amount of people that I met from those shows are still in my life today,
Wow.
and
Wow.
I'm grateful to have both you and your brothers, still, present in my world, and you both have been great mentors, support, and friends. So I thank you both for, what
No
you've done
problem.
for the
No
brand, what
problem.
you've done for me. Just
Cool.
before I even started, I just wanted to really,
Nice, nice.
shout
Yeah,
you out for that.
thank you, man. Appreciate that. And, kudos to you, like I said, man, for sure.
Thank you, man. So yeah, so maybe you could tell us where you grew up, where you and your brother grew up, and how you kind of found music and how kind
Yeah.
of things got going for you guys.
Okay. Where do I start? I got to go back to 1978.
Right.
But yeah, so like 1978, right? So like I literally was born around kind of the start of hip hop. Grew up with a single parent mom in the projects, Dykeman houses, uptown during like, pretty much the crack epidemic, probably one of the worst times in New York City in terms of policing, etc. Um, so yeah, I mean that's where it all started, right? And then just going through regular life and moving to the Bronx, like probably in my teenage years, I started to realize that when you're a kid, you're just immersed by culture, so you don't realize that you don't know what you like and don't like. You kind of by default, you're just surrounded by hip hop culture. So I just kind of like soaked that up by default, to be honest. And then it was only until like probably high school where I started really diving into like the details of like, oh, this artist or that artist, and started really caring about like the actual art of music rather than just like listening to whatever was put in front of me or my
Yeah.
friends were listening to. And yeah, and then I think going into college, there was a family friend that was rapping at the time, and he put a demo on a CD, and I was like, "What is that? That's like weird." I've never, it was the first time I ever even, I didn't even know people could put demos. Like, how do you record music? Like all that stuff was just like, I was just really curious about the process and like how do you actually record, write, record, find the beats, put it on, burn it on a CD, and I'm actually listening to it on my way to college. And that just like got me really kind of thinking while I was in college, studying something I had no idea I was studying and what I was going to do with it, or like any other kid going to college, or young man or young woman going to college and have no idea what their major is, and just do it because maybe their parents told them to go to college.
Yeah.
So I'm a first generation college grad, so I had no idea what I was doing in school. Rude awakening, scary shit. I don't know if I can curse.
No, you're good.
And
You're good.
yeah, yeah, and it was like a rude awakening. But when I was in college, again, like I said, I listened to that demo from the family friend, and I was like, wow, this is really cool, and it just got me really, really curious. I went to Barnes and Nobles at the time and Borders when Borders was open, and I bought a bunch of music industry books, management books, just to learn like what this was about. And then I was really into Rockefeller, Dame Dash, Biggs, and Jay Z. So I was really, no one could tell me I couldn't be Dame Dash at the time. Well, I wore baggy clothes, the fresh white tees, the fresh Tims all the time. Um, and so like just curiosity kind of led me here. And when I graduated college, when I was maybe like 22, I started managing artists in my neighborhood and just kind of getting them studio time. I thought I had like real money, but I really didn't have real money. I was just the first college, generation college grad with a job paying 29,000 and change. So I would like, I thought I was Dame Dash. So I was putting local artists in the studio and cutting demos because
Awesome.
I wanted to learn that side of it. And that was like the beginning of getting into the music industry. I don't know if you want me to keep going, but then there's a couple of decades right after that. So, but that's like that's like the beginning of like the curiosity that led to like, oh wow, this is like really cool stuff that I think I could see myself maybe doing as a career. And yeah, and that's right after that, I quickly found out that making music could be quite expensive. This is before people had home studios,
Yeah.
right? So I'm really dating myself here. You actually had to go to a recording studio.
I
And it was
remember
like
those
at the
days.
time it was like 50 an hour. And as
I
you
remember.
know, and so it was like really, really expensive. So eventually I was like, again, I think this is when I got a taste of, I guess, entrepreneurship, or the idea that I could become an entrepreneur was like, oh, let me be resourceful and figure out how to cut cost here to be able to help more artists. So that's where I started doing research about how to build your own home studio. And I purchased the Mbox, which is the first interface that you can record from
I
home,
remember. Yeah.
that came with the free version of Pro Tools, the
Pro
first
Tools.
ever edition.
Yep.
And I built a booth. I got some raw materials from Home Depot, and I built a booth in my basement apartment that I was renting at the time. I converted my bedroom into a studio, so I no longer had a bedroom. I bought a mic and a bunch of stuff, and I had people come over and we started recording. Here's a funny story, but like 3 months, I would say 3 or 4 months into it, I was like, man, there's a lot of reverb. It sounds real echoey. Like something's wrong here. I don't know what I'm doing. Like this is crazy.
Yeah.
Someone came in that knew what they were doing. They're like, yeah, you got your condenser mic facing the wrong way.
Oh,
And so I had to turn the condenser mic the right way to get some good recordings. But yeah, that humble beginnings. Just a kid who grew up in the projects, and kind of just like curiosity led me to like pick up some books, help some local artists, and I got to experience, I guess, both sides, right? So like, being in the streets and kind of being around, surrounded by the element of like real streets where, kids really got punched in the face, where, there were like fights every day, and, just growing up in really rough neighborhoods, to then experiencing the other side of it, which is like, okay, button up, go to college, people are more well, this is how you could be more well mannered. And this is what professionalism looks like. So I feel like I feel that's my competitive advantage, is that I understand what the bottom looks like, and I know what it looks like on the other side. in terms of like the white collar, professional and what that's supposed to mean. So I'm kind of, pulling from the best of both worlds. But yeah, but that's like kind of like the beginning, I would say.
That that's something else, man. To have those humble beginnings, to literally grow up where you
Hmm.
grew up.
Hmm.
There's I can't imagine what you saw. It wasn't easy.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
And but you had this like willingness to learn and be resourceful, and
Yep.
you just kind of kept flipping it and flipping it. And oh, how do I help the people I'm working with? Oh, let's make our own studio. Oh, let's
Yep.
do this,
Yep.
let's do this.
Yep.
And it's crazy. I tell anyone that I talk to, like, my life is all about learning.
Hmm.
You're never going to look back and be like, damn, I wish I didn't learn that.
Right.
Right? You're going to
Yeah.
always be like, I wish I learned that sooner. And that
Yep.
was great that you took the initiative to be like,
Yep.
how's the business work? How do you build a studio? How do
Yep.
you get people to do this?
Yep.
And like, you were really getting your hands dirty
Yep.
and just
Exactly.
running
Yep.
into the wall, or whatever metaphor it was for, failing or getting or figuring it out,
Yeah.
and you just kept going.
Absolutely. I think now that I'm older, I'm 43 now, and I think about it, I'm like, it was the like, it can't get any worse mentality. So like when your back's against the wall, you know what it's like to eat one meal a day. You know what it's like to have a twin, so single parent home with a twin brother. So it's like little income, two mouths to feed, making the best of it. We used to, now that I think of it, I have kids of my own. My brother and I used to walk to school in first grade by ourselves.
Wow.
A 6 year olds walking to school by themselves. Our school was like 6 blocks away from the projects. And we would walk to school and back after school on our own at 6 years old. I would never let my kids walk to school by themselves at 6 years old, crossing the street by themselves and everything. So that's just to
Oh
give you
man.
like context of like how we grew up is like almost like we had our backs against the wall. We were kind of humble beginnings, but then fearless because we were kind of forced to do things that maybe we shouldn't be doing at such a young age. And I think that hard wiring, set me up to be maybe a little more fearless and thinking that things are possible, through kind of like the way I grew up.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You're like, yeah, if I could deal with this shit,
yeah,
I or this, yeah, because I look back, man, my mom was picking me up even from high school. Like,
yeah, yeah,
you know what I mean? And I live like a mile away, but
yeah,
just different,
yeah,
different vibes. And it's true, it wires you differently when you're kind
absolutely.
of in these tougher situations, or you have to fend for yourself or look out for yourself
Yeah,
at any age. So to
yeah,
even be at that age, and then to have your brother,
yeah,
that's a blessing to even have a brother.
yeah,
But
yeah,
like, you guys really have partnered up. So
yeah.
pretty much, I don't know how long you both
Yeah,
been
it's a
partnered
funny
up.
story. So I was involved in music for a few years before. So basically, this was like 2002 when I started like managing artists. And then in 2007 was our first show ever. I had an original partner who got cold feet and didn't want to pay the balance for the room we were renting at Lovinger Theater at Lehman College. And so I had to come up with the rest. And then I needed some hands to help me. And Miguel, my partner and my twin brother, decided to help me while he was going to school and he was going pre-med. He was thinking about becoming a doctor. And then we did the show. It was successful. This is pre like barely MySpace days. And it just word of mouth spread. People were like, I want to do the overtime concert series. What is that? What is that? And so like we started doing monthly shows, like maybe 6 months after our first show ever. And we never stopped since. And
Wow.
he decided to not go to medical school maybe like 2 years after shows, doing like monthly shows. And then in 2009, 2010 is where we formed Majorstage, which is the company that exists now. So
That's crazy, man.
I know there's a lot of in between, but I don't know if we have enough time for all that. But it's
That's
it's been a long, long, grueling journey of like losses after losses after losses. And again, now that I think back of it in retrospect, it was really the hard wiring and the competitive advantage we had was we have nothing to lose. And we just found a reason to keep going. Because it's like if we can improve things just 1% every single time, we'll build something that will last a lifetime. And I feel like that's where we're kind of headed towards. Yeah.
Now that's amazing, because what a pivot for him, right?
Yeah.
He's on this like, oh, I'm going a medical route. It's going to be
Yeah.
this, and
Yeah.
I'm going to make this, and then takes the jump into entrepreneur, create a business, which the
Yeah.
roadmap is kind of, you could look it up, you could read a book, but until you're in the trenches,
Yeah.
you
It's
don't know what you're
unpredictable.
about. Yeah, you don't know what
Yeah.
you're going to deal with.
Yeah.
The
For
guy who
sure.
wrote the book maybe from Kentucky and he went through something his own way and had it, you're in a whole different space, a whole different scene.
Hmm.
So you had to literally create your own map to
Yep.
this.
Yep.
But
Exactly.
but everything you've
Exactly.
done shaped you,
Yep.
and things you've been through. And
Yep.
here you are, you and your brother, you start over time, Majorstage
Yep.
about 12 years ago.
Yep.
And that's just crazy, and so
Yep.
how's that work with both you? Because you're both doing the business side of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you kind of figure out, okay, this is my role, this is your role?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Um,
that's a
I think, so right out of college, I had a day job and I kind of worked myself up in that day job to like a senior level role. And I left my day job when I was 30. So from like 22 to 30, I worked corporate America. And like I said, got my chops like up there on that side of it and understanding how to like what business development meant and, just like really honing those like professional skills that you wouldn't learn. College could teach you so much, but you kind of learn in the corporate world of how to like conduct yourself and how to actually draft an appropriate email and all these different things. So I had a little advantage because Miguel didn't go to college until like I feel like his late 20s. So I had like I guess business experience or day job corporate experience. And Miguel and I, although we're twins, we're a lot different in a sense. He's more like a kind of introverted, creative thinker. I feel like I'm more take charge, kind of big thinker, and just like OCD, ridiculous levels of ambition. And Miguel has ridiculous levels of ambition, but I think I'm more of like innately a leader, I would say. So currently, I'm the president and CEO, and Miguel's just a co-founder and the kind of media director, oversees the media stuff. So that was easy because I think Miguel is a part of being self-aware. I think Miguel just knew his strengths and he knew my strengths, and he just like when we were younger, he'd be like he would call me the mouthpiece. So I'd be like Marco's the mouthpiece. Let him like just handle everything, because maybe he just
yeah,
didn't feel comfortable doing it because he never had to do it at a day job.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, so that's like my role. It's just like I guess I would maybe consider myself the leader in a sense, but Miguel's a leader as well in his own way.
yeah,
But we figured it out pretty early that my role was to like, oh, get us those new venue connections, like, oh, like, negotiate with the venues, that was always like my role. And Miguel was more kind of like in the background, handling like the numbers, operational type stuff. And he did some booking early on as well, um, before we hired any employees. Believe it or not, it was just the two of us for a very long time.
I remember being at
Yeah,
many of the events, and
yeah,
I remember when you were just starting to
yeah,
add new people to the team, and
yeah,
to now see where you are. I've gone to events, and you were at another event
yeah,
happening in a whole other venue somewhere else. So I was
yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
wow. I
yeah.
was like, yo, this
Yeah,
is
it's
great to
pretty
see.
crazy. I think I might have told you this last time, but in 2019, we got our biggest year where I think we produced nearly 400 shows that year alone,
Wow.
and so it's more shows than days in a calendar year, which is ridiculous if you think about it. But that was just because and I think if there's any young people listening to this podcast, it's just a testament of like don't think too far ahead, just like master each step because if you master each step, then you can amplify your process. Because then at that point, if you have a tight process and a tight, company culture and all these things, you could just add more people, and human capital will allow you to like scale faster than you ever thought you could.
That's real.
Yeah.
That's it's amazing to see, man, and just
Thank you, man.
I tell anyone, "Oh, great, you're starting now. You want overnight success?" I'm like, "Yeah, just work like 14 years every day
Yep.
for that thing,
Yep.
and in about 14 years, you'll see the
Yep.
overnight success." And
Yeah.
it's
Yep.
just great to hear, after you've passed kind of the decade mark of your passion and the business that you've chosen,
Yep.
the evolution that you see and the growth and the learning and
Yep.
everything. It just I I always say you find a way to make it work. You're not going
Oh.
to just disintegrate because things aren't making sense.
Right.
It
Yep.
forces you to think and
Yep.
be and adjust and move around and mold and change to what you got to do.
Yep. Younger people are just too hard on themselves. I'm 40. Put it this way: I'm 43, and I'm like, man, I'm so young. I got so much more time. I got damage to do. I can't wait. Like, especially when you start like calculating your time differently, right? So like, I've already spent over 20 something years in the music industry. And what I was able to accomplish in 20 something years, and compared to like what I was able to accomplish the last 10 years, I'm like, another 10 years? Oh, it's like young people say, it's lit, man. I know you
Yeah.
give me another 10 years, man. And that's the way you start looking, you start assessing or evaluating what time really means when you correlate it with what success means to you. I think people just hold themselves to something too early, and it's not fair to themselves. Think about how long you're going to school. You're not expect to
So
like
true.
have a job when like your first grade all the way to eighth grade. That's 8 years right there, man. So like,
It's
why
true.
are people rushing themselves through the process? You got to take your time, man.
You can't. Yeah, and I don't know what video game exists. I
Mm-hmm.
know in like the first Mario, you could like get to level 4 or 5 if you kind of go above and you climb, but like you're not going to the last level
Mm-mm.
from that first level,
Mm-mm.
because by the time you get to that last level, you're not ready to go.
No.
You what are you gonna do, right?
Yep.
I always tell people like, yo, learn to manage $5,000,
Mm-hmm.
because if someone just gave you 1 million, would you be ready to manage this?
Right.
Like,
Right.
and then
Right.
you get blessed when you've passed these tests.
Yep.
You
Absolutely.
can manage
Absolutely.
it, you could handle it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Here's more responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go
I
go
totally
take
agree.
care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. A lot of people drop the ball because they're just not ready when they think they're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how important is communication to you? Just because
Communication is
you're working with so many people.
Yeah, communication is everything. Communication is listening more than you talk. And
Yeah.
and when I say that, it's not even just like words, it's body language. It's really understanding um, what motivates people and what they really want out of the relationship they have with you. And when you understand that, I think it's more seamless, and you create just a mutually beneficial relationship where you're giving a little bit more than you're giving a little bit more than they're actually giving you. I think when you create that form of communication, then you become a resource rather than an exchange or like a transaction. You know. So I
Yeah.
think I think communication is underrated. It's so underrated. And I think younger people, because communication has like it's being done through social media, so it might happen a little faster sometimes. But the basics and the core stuff are still the same. It's like treat people fairly, be kind, don't be a dickhead, and don't ask for stuff too early in the relationship, and try to add value, because that's what communication is, right? It's like it is an exchange of like a moment, and that moment can't just be like fucking take like withdrawing all day.
It's
So
so
yeah.
true.
Yeah, so I think communication is everything. I think I personally think is one of my strengths. Maybe not everyone, agrees with that, depending who's on, receiving the message. But, but I think
Yeah.
communication is one of my strengths because here's the thing with communication: it's not an effort to be liked. It's an effort to be concise and to be accurate with what the message you're trying to relay. And sometimes the message doesn't want to be heard, but that's not your problem. Your problem is to make sure you get it across to them in a way that they can understand it. And if they don't like you for it today, that's okay. Maybe they'll like you for it 15 years from now, or 20 years from now. They'll be like, damn, I remember that conversation, you know? So I
Yeah.
think I think communication, I think the idea of telling people what they want to hear is poor communication.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. People are always telling me like, Dave, you're so positive. You're so I'm like, I was like, nah, like is I look at it as being real. Like
Yeah.
just telling, yo, things are a little shitty, but don't worry, you're gonna figure it out. And that's kind of it in like a simple form. It's like
Yeah.
understanding where you are,
Hmm.
having the attitude to keep going, and then figuring out to go. And then who are you working with to get it done, right?
Yeah.
And you said I was gonna ask you, about a lot of like the values that you grew up. You said you grew up in the projects,
Hmm.
and you've kind of hinted and talked about the values that you grew up on that you've kind of taken over to business.
Hmm.
What are some of kind of like the golden rules that you have, that you've taken kind of growing up in from the struggle, but you've
Yeah. Yeah.
taken them over to business, and they've allowed, they've given you that strength. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's a good question. These aren't necessarily things I think about too often, but let me see. I think the one thing that comes to mind, and just to keep it like real and not so like freaking, you know, politically correct and fucking like
Yeah.
Anthony Robbins style. But the truth is, I ain't shit. And when you think you ain't shit, you move differently. And when you
Yeah.
say, when you know that, you know better than your peers, or better than the kids you grew up in with when you're a kid that maybe are now in the penitentiary or maybe took the wrong turn in life. I think I still know that I was fortunate enough to make the right turn, but my circumstances could have been different. Easily could have been different. There's so many like moving factors or variables in terms of like the decisions your parents make, or an older person in your neighborhood, or maybe the church you went to, that kind of like keeps steering you in the right direction. So I think the truth is that I go into it knowing I ain't shit. I just built on things that I feel like I was fortunate enough to experience that kind of steered me in the right direction, where I express my gratitude by making sure that I do my best to put my best foot forward. And yeah, and when I think of winning, and there's a good like connection. When I think of winning, is that winning for me, is a team effort. It's a shared experience. That's the best way to put it. So when you think you ain't shit, because you ain't shit by yourself, you're not gonna do anything by yourself. So when you know it's a shared effort, then you don't have that bravado or that arrogance to think that you don't need people, or you are the shit, right? Rather than you ain't shit, and you know that you need to assemble people, and and just like bring the best out of people, and kind of create valuable, put yourself in the right places in order to share the correct experiences with the best people. So like that's I think the core value. Is like that's why when people say, like, when people are looking left and right on their paths, and they're like the compare culture is horrible. You can't compare yourself to other people, because your come up is way different.
Yeah.
So it is where I'm coming from. So it's like, if what makes you special is how you experience life, and being real about what your competitive advantage is, or whatever it is you're trying to do. So like that's what I feel like my competitive advantage is. Like, I'm not afraid to lose it all. I don't think of myself as the shit. Like, I really don't really. It doesn't matter how much money I make. It doesn't matter how successful I am. I'm just gonna keep striving to lift people up, and just try to be as impactful as possible as I can, whether that's with my peers, my, artists, clients, it doesn't even matter. I just want people to remember that whatever moment or experience we had, it was like positive and productive. And I don't want ever to want to give people the idea that they're beneath me. And I think that is the projects, because in the projects, you ain't above anybody. And when you're arguing with somebody because they have the Jordans, they ain't shit either. They in the projects. They just hustle money up to go get the fucking Jordans, but they still have the shared experience with you in terms of struggle. Not being in. No parent is like, yes, I'm aiming for the projects for my kids. So like when you know that everyone's on an even playing field, I think that's the core values that I think that I'm always going to be a project hit. Doesn't matter how much well spoken I am today than I was back then. I'm still a project hit. So, you know,
That's powerful, man. That's really powerful. Just you nailed so many different you nailed so many things there. And
yeah, yeah. Thanks.
it's it's this balance of changing and not
Hmm.
changing, right? Like
Yep.
you kind of filter out things that are working for you, lessons,
Hmm.
keeping things, letting things go, and we're just like we're this ongoing filter of
Yep.
knowledge and application.
Yep.
And I love what you said about the moments. Just because I that's something that people always ask me, like, "Yo, Dave, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for this?" I'm like,
Hmm.
I just want a moment where we could enjoy, go
Hmm.
somewhere, do something, a game, a show, a park or
Yep. Yep.
carousel or something. Like,
Yep. Yep.
let's because the moments are what we're gonna look back on.
Yep. Yep.
I could have every
Absolutely.
toy, I could have every J, every dollar, but
Yep.
if there's if I'm not sharing a moment with someone, and that doesn't make sense. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why I love this show. It's just to talk to people, really, capsule this moment, hear about where you're going, where you've been, and where you're about, and where you're planning to go. And
Yep.
it's amazing, bro. It's amazing to hear all these things. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, maybe there's kind of this culture of work, 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 work. Like no sleep. What's your kind of approach on that? Because you got a family.
Yeah. Yeah.
You and your brother both aim to both be healthy. You take care of
Yeah.
yourselves,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you got a business with several employees, as
Hmm.
you said, hundreds of shows going on,
Hmm.
lots of different aspects to oversee. So
Yeah.
maybe you could kind of give me your take on balance and kind of
Yeah.
just managing it all and time management.
Yeah. Shit. Balance. The good old word balance. I would say it's 24/7. I never turn my entrepreneurial business brain off. I think I think where I find balance is spending time with my family, and allow me to, being a business owner allows me the flexibility to do whatever I want. But obviously having fortunate enough to have a wife that is embraces my lifestyle of like understanding how like ambitious I am, and my lofty goals and all that stuff, and kind of knowing when not to get out the way, but like just to like let me just be who I am. So I would say it's I don't take many vacations. I'm gonna keep it real. I talk about them with my wife, and we just never do it. But I would love to take more vacations. But my day is very like there's a lot of moving parts, man. Like
Yeah.
running Majorstage. I also manage a few artists. We have a roster of artists. It's just nonstop. So it's like it's one of those things where it's like it doesn't feel like a job. So it's almost like the kid who's playing video games. For me, work is actually fun. So it doesn't feel like work. So it's always like attached to me. like it's on my phone, and it's like, so it's a matter of like saying, okay, I'm not going to play today. Let me let me stop playing and go play with my daughter, or let me stop playing and watch UFC with my son. You know, um, so yeah. So in terms of balance, man, for me, and I can only speak for me, not even Miguel or other people. I just love what I do, and I don't have a retirement plan. I tell my wife knows that I'm never retiring. You're never
I
gonna
say
catch me
I
like
say the
fucking,
same shit, man.
yeah, yeah, never retiring.
I've
This is
warned
way,
I've warned my girl too.
yeah, yeah, yeah. This is way too much fun for me, man. I like I part of the earlier conversation is like it's almost that game of like it's the video game of like, man, I was able to accomplish this in a couple decades. What can I do in the next one and the next one? And and it's just like I'm starting to think at 43, I'm thinking to myself, like, how can I get to 90? Like, what do I need to see 90? Because I need that extra decade, you know?
Yeah,
So like that's how like I think, which maybe is not the healthiest, but that's how I feel, It's like it's a nonstop thing. So in terms of routine, man, as I got older, I feel like your morning routine really sets the day. So I'm big on like meditation. I'm big on journaling. I'm big on
me
like
too.
manifesting. Yeah, I'm big on working out. I work out every day, and I don't work out for long, contrary to what freaking health experts tell you to do. I literally do a workout that takes 5 to 7 minutes every day, and that's pretty much it, man. And then I get my day started, and then in between, my day doesn't end until I go to sleep. But in between that time is where I take breaks for like obviously eating, family time, and that type of stuff. But yeah, it never ends, man. It never ends.
I I literally wrote I came to that conclusion
Hmm.
today. I'll never be finished.
No, no,
And I'm always like I always have this like anxiousness where I'm like, "Oh, there's like 90 things. If I could just knock out the 90 things and then the day just ends and I'm like and then there's like 40 more that come
yeah,
and then I'm back to 90 again." I'm like,
yeah,
"Oh, I was
yeah,
at 50 yesterday." And like I kind of have this and then it hit me today. I'm like, "Dave, you'll never be finished
no,
and it's okay.
right,
But you're blessed because there's so much more to do tomorrow."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And it
absolutely.
and I've literally been like dealing with that through myself,
Hmm.
trying to understand it because I was at a point, bro, where I would do a lot of my business and there wouldn't be anything to do. It's no longer like that. You
No,
know, after you've built something where now it becomes a machine or you're
right,
doing things at scale, like hundreds of designs, thousands, and then orders are coming in and or whatever it is,
yeah,
hundreds of shows, like more than there are days.
yep,
You know, so there's that balance of like, all right, let's enjoy the day
yep.
and then let's get ready for our next thing tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
That's
yeah, yeah. I mean, I grew up playing baseball, and that was the thing. When I was a kid, I would put my uniform on and sleep in it because I couldn't wake up to wait. I couldn't wait to wake up in the morning for the game. That's how I feel as an entrepreneur, essentially.
that's real.
It's like I can't wait. I can't wait to wake up and like get to it. You know what I mean? And get it popping.
Yeah.
That's how I feel every day. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It doesn't matter, man. It's like I feel like that every single day. But I know I'm older now, where I'm like, okay, you got to relax. Like it's time to spend time with the baby, or it's time to like, go outside for a walk. So like, yeah. But you're right
That
though. It's
that
it's never you never finish, and it's definitely a journey for sure.
and that's great that you could just switch, right? Like
Yeah.
you're in this game, the business game, and then it's like, all right, time to I'm in a new world now with my family,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be all in there. And
Yeah.
it's and it we don't have to limit ourselves to just we're this one thing, right? Like, and it's great to know, you're handling everything, you're handling stuff, and as you said, you still fail, you're still learning, but like you're there for your family, you're there for your people, you're there for your
Yeah.
business, and
Yeah.
you're taking care of yourself
Yeah. thousand
on the
percent.
process.
Thousand
So
percent. Yeah. Yeah. Just being. I tell my wife this all the time. It's like, being perfectly imperfect. That's my goal. I can't wait to fail because when you get to my age, and I feel like man young, but when you get to my age, you learn that, damn, the faster I fail, the faster I can learn and actually win. So
Yeah.
it's like I can't wait to like roll out a new idea. I don't get attached to like new ideas. They
Yep.
could fail in a week, and I'd be like, oh well, I got something from that. Now I know it didn't work. Now on to the next thing.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, failure is very, very, very important to embrace. And too many people get crippled by that perfection. You know?
Yeah, right. It's like we add these filters to our photos to make them look different.
Yeah,
How do we look at things and give ourselves positive filters
yeah,
or reinforcement filters or manifestation filters,
hmm,
so when something happens to us we could look at it that way? And it's just
hmm,
great to hear your take on things of just like, all right, I'm gonna figure it out. Oh, I failed this way. It's just to even take that approach, because I've heard people, they're like, the weather's bad, the day's bad. I'm like,
yeah,
yo, no, it doesn't have to be like that. I was
right,
like, yo,
right,
we just gotta change a little bit of this programming,
yeah,
because we can't let that thing.
no,
Why does that have to affect the bigger picture? There's so
hmm,
much more to the day than something out of your control. Let's
right,
think about the stuff you can control.
yeah,
And it's great to hear your take on all these things, bro. Like,
yeah, definitely, definitely not. You keep it simple, man. It's not that complicated. People just make things too complicated. What it is too is like the need to appease or to like, I have this thing even with my daughter and my son when they were kids. Like, well, my daughter's like 9 months and my son is 21 now. But you know, um, clap for your damn self.
yeah,
That's like my saying. Is just clap for yourself. Like, all this like waiting for someone to applaud you. It actually makes me uncomfortable when people talk about my successes because I'm like, that shit is mad old. Like, I'm on to the next thing,
yeah,
And it's like when you start clapping for yourself, game changer. Because you're only really doing things for yourself at that point.
it's real.
Hmm.
It's so real, right?
Yep.
Bro, you don't even know, man. Like, I found such a comfort in not saying what I just did. And you know me, bro. You met me in the height of my social media,
Hmm.
phase where I was posting everything. Everyone knew about everything,
Right.
bro. And I've been at a point where I've had to like coach myself back to be like, all right, Dave, you could tell people about what you just did, because I found such a groove
Yeah.
of just doing hundreds of things and
Hmm.
just doing the work, and like it went to where it was supposed to go.
Hmm.
It was having the effect I was beyond what I expected, and I didn't tell anyone about it. It was this weird thing, right? And I would just kind of, and the achievement was kind of the cheering myself on. And
Yeah.
and I kind of, as you know, bro, what am I, millennial, whatever? I grew up on people cheering for me.
Hmm.
And that,
Yep.
and
You
once I
grew up
kind of
with the
switched it,
participation trophies, man.
yeah.
Participation trophies. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
And it was weird. Like, then I would post something and it would mess me up almost, because it would get a certain amount of things, and then like now I'm overthinking, like, oh well, I did this and I thought it was great, and then I'm like, damn, why am I overthinking this? I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna get to work, and then just clap for myself, like, did it, keep going, keep, and like I just
Hmm.
got hooked on it. I just got
Hmm.
hooked on just, and that's some real shit that you're
Yeah.
saying, bro.
Yeah, yeah. Even on Instagram, you won't find a picture of me. On You won't find a picture of me on Instagram because for me, I like, and this is part of like applauding like yourself and cheering for yourself or clapping for yourself is if I don't have anything like powerful and a big winning moment to post, then I'm not winning. I'm not doing enough. So I can't wait till I do something cool so I could post it. Not because that's a form of me clapping for myself. And I'm not posting it to like be like, oh, I'm gonna tell everyone what I did. It's just like validation of like self-validation of like this is what I accomplished. I don't care about taking a picture with this artist or that artist. I'm not gonna post that. I'm only gonna post what I did so I can help empower my peers, empower people that might come across my page. And that's like a form of like clapping for yourself. And then I just keep it moving and I'm like, on to the next thing. I need some, damn, I haven't posted in 7 days, man. I ain't doing enough. You know what I mean? Like, I need something
Yeah,
cool to post about, But it's
yeah.
usually about other people's success. which is a form of like kind of, if you kind of head down that path of like understanding your why or why you do something, and really wanting to like really have an impact and change people's lives, which is one of the things I kind of journal in the morning as a routine.
Yeah.
One of my little mantras or stuff I write down is like I literally want to impact and change people's lives. There isn't money attached to it. It's not. It could be a moment. It could be whatever it is. I feel like that's like what I was born to do in a sense. So that's like my biggest motivation. And I don't really talk about this that often, so it's kind of weird. But
Yeah.
the truth is like I have clients that not to if any of them watch this, it'd be funny, but they don't wish me like people can forget my birthday. I don't even care. No, people don't even wish me. You wouldn't even know it's my birthday because I'm not the guy that's posting happy birthday to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that's the type of guy like I feel like I've become growing up into this like more mature kind of version of myself. And if I can impart that in younger people to like maybe speed that up a little bit, it's like, man, once you figure out how to clap for yourself and not look for outside validation, man, you could be so unstoppable. Really.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real. You find the food that's feeding you,
Mm-hmm.
and like, and for me, and clearly progress. You're
Yeah.
doing stuff. You're getting stuff done.
Yeah.
You're with someone. You're helping them. Like, you're finding the fuel for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and you're just in the zone. You almost forget to post. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
the whole day went by. Oh, okay,
Yeah. Yeah. It's not
good.
easy to do. Honestly, I'd be like, I look at them like, oh, I got to do this now. I really don't want to do this,
Yeah,
but I know how necessary. I love
it's a
social media.
it's a balance. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
social media is important
Yeah,
in terms of building like brand and stuff like that. And maybe this is a step in the direction of like building my own personal brand. I don't know, but whatever it is, I think that people just need to like be real with themselves and figure out who they really are and what really makes them tick, and not doing it for like that outside noise, or like feeling like
yeah,
you feel like you're a part of something or you accept it because I don't know whatever reason people use social media for, like that
yeah,
kick, that when the likes start coming in, or people DM you and they freaking stroke your ego.
yeah.
That stuff is cool. I get it. Like you stroked my ego early on in this conversation, which is fine. I'll take it, but I'm not like out there like looking for it every minute of the day.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
There's so much world to change, right? And
Yeah. Hmm. For sure.
and and your world, right? We all have our own world that we're in where we interact. And people like, "Oh, Dave, well, how could I change the world?" And it's like, "Yo, your world is your home.
Hmm.
Whoever you interact with throughout the day
Yeah.
and whoever you could communicate with throughout the day.
Yeah.
You're you're not going to maybe impact a billion people. It's not a billion people watching you right now. Your world is your world. I know people that
Yeah.
are mothers, and they're impacting their world by being there 24/7 for their family,
Yep.
cooking the illest dishes,
Yeah.
you know, scraping, putting band-aids on their kid's leg, and helping them up from the bike. And
Yeah.
I know people that are climbing up on buildings and putting the Verrazano together. You know what
Right.
I mean? Like, how are
Yep.
you? And your world, all our worlds are different, but we could all make a contribution to it in one way or another. And bro,
Absolutely.
it's just great to hear your views on all these things, man. Like, just to
Yeah.
talk to you about all this stuff.
For sure.
So, you're saying big. I know you guys have constantly been making moves. Um, what are some things maybe we could look out for Majorstage? Maybe you can't
Yeah.
sneak peek everything, but
Yeah. Yeah. Just on the shows. So Majorstage is the parent company that is kind of has a reputation of producing shows. So we're just producing a lot of shows in New York City across different genres, which is cool. We're bi-coastal now, so we're producing shows in LA. I think we've done like 10 to 12 shows in LA so far. Um, and we launched both a media division, media subsidiary, and as well as a music subsidiary. So, a lot of the content on our YouTube channel and just kind of building that out, building relationships with more artists and kind of growing and building relationships with the artist community. like I said, labels, publicists, et cetera, just to kind of contribute to artists' careers. So we do that through like a lot of content activations. If you go to our YouTube or just our Instagram page, you'll see we do a lot of like the in studio performances. We do a Red Room series, which is new, which is kind of like an acoustic, you know, R&B singer or just singer kind of version of our performance series. We do a kind of like a freestyle video series. We did it with Smokey Margella, and then we put that out as well on all DSPs. So we just want to grow that, you know, to just to other levels. You know, we started from scratch in 2019, and currently I think we're like over 40,000 subscribers on YouTube. You know, garnered millions and millions of views at this point, and we just want to be able to do more of that. And we've release some of those in studios and media activations through our music arm, which is kind of interesting. So like some of the in studios will put out the audio versions on like Spotify and stuff. And we did some deals with a few major labels so far, which we're excited about. And we want to kind of do more of that and obviously do it with independent artists as well. And then we have the music division, which is also the baby of Majorstage, was launched at the same time we launched the media division 2019, where we manage a roster of artists, and then we have some marketing and distro clients as well. Um, and so we're excited about that. You know, there's too many artists to talk about, but one of the ones we were really excited about, and we're excited about all of them, but recently is Amber Ryan. We've been managing her for 2.5 years now, I would say, and she just got her first, she got her first distro deal, official distro deal, which we're really excited about with through AWOL. And we're kind of like, she actually, ironically, her debut single from that deal is dropping at midnight. Um, so we're excited about it. It's called Situationship. So just breaking artists through the music division. We also manage other artists like Forever, Chris Stassi out of Virginia Beach. Forever's from Philly. Companion is a new artist we signed, and a bunch of other artists that we work with as well. So we want to build out the music division as well, the media division. So essentially create um, a modern music community is what we call it now. So it's kind of like a hybrid music company where we can help artists in different ways, and just keeping, true to like our foundation essentially. So like we don't charge for anything. So like for example, I think you know this, but like with our shows, we don't do pay to play. We're against that business model. With the media activations, you can't pay to get on. We don't charge money for any media activations. Same thing with the music division. You can't pay your way onto our roster. And I think not that that's like a norm on the music side of things, but I think
Yeah.
that's important for us to be like have exhibit high levels of integrity. So yeah, that's what's on the horizon, man. I want us to break a lot of artists and really thinking of what that's going to look like in the next 10 to 20 years from now. And obviously do more shows across nationwide and stuff like that. So, but yeah, we've just gotten started though, man. I know we've been doing this for a while, and the young people are like, what is old head talking about? I know I'm only 43, man. I got a lot more to do. So there's a lot of great things happening in terms of just everything, man. Just like creating valuable relationships. We manage a couple of producers as well. One, Zach Golden, which is like a key collaborator with Amber Ryan. He's a co-producer and produces a lot of stuff with her. So yeah, we're just excited, man. So that's where we're headed right now. Is more shows, break artists, and build a digital platform to be able to support more artists for the next few decades.
Let's go, man. Team no retirement. Let's
Yeah, no,
do
no
it.
retirement, man. It's definitely not going to end. I don't know what the future holds, but I know that I'm not stopping. If you know I'm still here. Definitely, there's no stopping, and there's only going to be growth. And I can't wait to build with my team. Currently, I can't wait to build with the artists on our roster and just keep building. And I can't wait to welcome new, relationships into our family. So it's on and popping from here
Let's
on out.
go.
So
Let's
like
go,
yeah.
man.
So we're so that's where we're kind of involved with. And I think it's funny because a lot of people, and you included, know us from shows, and a lot of people have no idea that we do anything else. And it's funny because during the pandemic, people that were introduced to the Major Stage brand thought all we did was media and in studios because
Mm,
there were no shows. So now, post pandemic, or we're still kind of in the pandemic, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
Now that we're introducing shows, people are like, "Oh, Major Stage does shows too." So we're like, "All right, cool." So we're,
Breath of fresh air right
yeah,
there.
yeah, Rutherford, yeah. So we're back. We're doing shows again.
Yo, man, it's just to have known you for over a decade, to just see the growth, hear your story about you and your brother, where you grew up, the lessons that you've taken from growing up where you did, walking home at age 6
Hmm.
to now, walking up to, big desks with labels and
Hmm.
finding artists in the cut, and giving them a chance, to give them the opportunities and connecting dots.
Hmm.
Because when you're an artist, you a lot of your focus is on the creation. So to just be there to support the artists during these processes and
Yeah,
backing them up and giving them a stage and way beyond,
yeah,
it's just so beautiful to hear, man. I just
yeah.
hear
Thank
how
you.
the growth and hearing your take on things, about not wanting to retire and just still finding time for the important things in life too that are outside of the business, bro. I'm just inspired, man, by everything. So I
Thank you, man. It's my pleasure, man. And it's one of those things where it's like I would rather inspire and not be told that I'm inspiring, but I'll take it for what it is. It's cool. But like that, like I'm glad. It's great to hear, um,
yeah,
because like that's really honestly the goal. Is just to be as inspiring as I can be. And I have a strong feeling that I am inspiring to a lot of people, whether I hear it from the public or not. But to hear that from you means a lot because we haven't spoken necessarily in a long time, right? So it's like we
yeah,
met, and then we kind of like had our dealings, and we had our conversations and our moments, and I'll share the experiences, which was cool. We went our separate ways, but there's still a mutual respect where we could come back and still kind of have conversations or even remember conversations from that long ago. And that's like, I guess, confirms that the path and trajectory I'm on is the right one, to know that what I'm setting out to do is actually happening rather than me hoping or guessing that it's actually happening.
yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
for yeah, man. There's people that I know a lot of people that they're very ambitious, and then I just know people who have their head down, they're in the trenches, they're getting their hands dirty, and you may not even know they're doing it. They're not gonna say what they're doing,
Yeah,
but like I've seen it, and
yeah.
and my dad's a great example. Like he hasn't posted on social media one time. He wakes up at 5. He's retired on
Hmm.
paper, but still
Hmm.
plays shows, still
Hmm.
teaches, does everything that aligns with his purpose in life.
Nice.
And he's doing what he's supposed to do, bro. So and it's no question that you're
Yeah,
on that path,
yeah, yeah.
and just seeing the growth and hearing about it, hearing about your brother and you, man, it's just great. And we got to have a show in like when we're 90,
Yeah, yeah.
when you're 90 and I'm 80, 83ish, because I think
Yeah.
we're like 6 year difference or so. That'll be a sick show. I'm gonna put it in my Google Calendar, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
90, man. Sheesh. I don't know, man. I don't know, but we could aim for that. That's cool. I don't know if I want to go to a show when I'm 90, but maybe I will. Yeah,
oh, we'll probably do a Zoom or whatever.
yeah,
We'll
yeah,
do this show. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay, cool. All right.
I will just tap back in. I'll rewind this. I'll be like, remember
Okay,
this,
I'll
bro?
definitely have way more gray hairs, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Cool, man.
But yeah, man. Yo, amazing. I can't wait to see what you all do next. Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome, man, and definitely. And let me know if there's anything I could do to help. And that, as you know,
Yeah.
feel free to take advantage of me.
Of
Just
course.
don't ask me to send anything to your Venmo or PayPal. But like anything else, I'll definitely. I'm just kidding. I'll definitely help. Like
Yeah,
that's what I'm here for. And if there's anything, if you ever want to chop it up, just let me know. But thanks for having me on. It's pretty cool. I don't think I've. You might be like the first podcast I've done. I did this radio show thing maybe like 10 years ago, but I don't do this often.
of course.
And I felt like it felt weird because typically I would be like, I wouldn't do it. But I was like, Dave reached out. I'm gonna do it because Dave reached out. Let me get this off real quick and see how it feels. And I think it's cool, man. So thanks for like maybe re-energizing me because maybe these are things that maybe I should do a little more often. Yeah.
Yo, man, every convo that we've had that's been more than 5 minutes, because they were either very short or very
Hmm.
long convos, they've they've had lasting impacts on me.
Wow.
And we only had a few,
Hmm.
but they had lasting impacts. And I remember lasting impact convos, and I've had tens of thousands of quick ones and long
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I'm happy that you were natural. I would
Yeah.
have thought this was your show.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I'm curious before I let you go. So, what's one thing? I'm just curious on like the psychology of like what people remember, right? So, was it something said in the conversation you remember, or was it how you felt during the conversation, or both? And if there was something you remember that was said, what was it? And if there was a feeling, like what was that feeling? I'm curious.
the convo that we had
Any
about
conversation.
it with us. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
I could remember it, and I remember literally who I saw after that and
Hmm.
who I texted after and stuff. So I remember we had a convo, you, your brother, and I was just trying to like kind of find a roadmap of where I wanted
Hmm.
to go, because I was enjoying kind of being all over the place, doing lots of things, and you were really the first. Both of you were like, "Yo, you got to own what you're doing.
Hmm.
You're here, you're there, you're everywhere. It's hard to understand exactly what you're doing.
Hmm.
Exactly. Are
Hmm.
you there? You're doing so much here. Are you?" And like it was at a point where it was kind of foreign for me at the moment, or
Hmm.
like, and it was weird for me to hear that, because everyone else was just congratulating me. Oh, you're doing great. You're doing
Hmm.
great. And it was like a curveball for me to hear something that out of the norm, right? Like if just two dudes that were like doing their thing that I came to for some advice. So
Hmm.
I was kind of ready for the advice no matter what it
Hmm.
was. And I remember you were like, "Yo, make sure to, if this is what you're doing, be all in it.
Hmm.
You're here, you're here." I can't remember all the exact, but that was kind of the
Right.
theme of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it threw me off in a good way,
Yeah.
because everything else I was hearing was just all claps all
Yeah.
over,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it like broke through the noise in a good
Mm.
way.
Oh, that's great.
So
That's
one, I
great to
was
hear.
uncomfortable because it wasn't what I was doing at the time,
Hmm.
and it even took me time to even adjust into it. So I didn't even take that approach right away.
Hmm.
But the year that I did, the most fruit came in
Mm.
terms of just self development, growth, the business
Hmm.
fivefolding. And
Wow.
and it was as simple as, not as simple, it was a lot of work, the
Hmm.
information, but it was like, yo, just lock in of what that thing is.
Hmm.
And
Hmm. Wow.
be cool with all these people, that don't cut off anyone or whatever, but like be all in with what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um
Definitely.
so
Wow.
yeah, it made me
That's good to hear, bro.
it was cool. It
Nice.
was a good convo, and this is another great one. I'm going to take these gems, and I
Nice.
hope all our listeners did too, because
Cool. Cool. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me again, Dave.
yeah.
I think we're too old for me to call you Noodles anymore. So we're call- no, but I really appreciate it, man, and let's make sure that we don't go
Yeah,
this long without speaking
yeah, no,
again.
I'm
But
I'm
yeah,
fired up, man. So yeah, I actually got a bunch. I got a few ideas, so I will be hitting you up.
cool
And shout out to your brother.
for sure. I'll
Um,
let him know. Yeah,
give him my
we'll see it.
best.
I think.
Yeah, and shout out to the whole Major Stage Familia.
Thank you.
And for anyone who isn't familiar, make sure to go tap into what Major Stage is up to.
Yep.
It's Major Stage on all platforms, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep. Just major stage everywhere, pretty much. Yeah.
No doubt. So for
Cool.
anyone tuned in, my guy dropped gems tonight. You could collect these gems and apply them to your day-to-day grind. You know, uh, team no retirement. Just finding a way. Being fearless. Just so many things you could take from this gentleman right here, and him and his brother are just a definition of putting on for the culture, putting on for people, artists, and keep up the amazing work, my dude.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. It was a pleasure, man, and we'll definitely talk soon.
Yes, yes.
All right, cool, man.
All right.
Peace.
Peace.